Okay, so we've at our local Goodwill the other day, and we picked up a little Leroi engine. Got that for $3.95. No, not really. Got this off online auction, and just thought we'd just throw it out there for the Goodwill of $3.95. Really didn't get it for that. Paid a little bit more for it than that, but these old Leroys were power units. They started making Leroys, I think, about 1913, and then sold out to about 1953. This one here is a little two-cylinder, which means it has a cylinder here and a cylinder back here. This particular Leroi, like some others that I've seen in the past, have the flywheel on the front side versus not on the PTO outgoing back here. So I just thought that was kind of a little bit neat, the way that they always mount their flywheel. Not always, but some models had their flywheel mounted up front. There would have been a belt here, ran up to drive this fan. This is a non-electric start and a non-generator engine. It has a magneto on the other side. So when we get around to there, we'll see that. This little fan here is kind of like a little Model T fan. Just ran off a flat belt. And the slack would be taken up back here. There's like a bolt you loosen up, and that would slide up and down. And that would bring the tension up on your belt to get this fan to turn to cool the radiator up front. Just a couple other neat little things here. This is the oil indicator, which means when it's full here, or when it's empty there, which is sitting on empty now. We're going to take this engine apart and see why this thing doesn't quite float up and down like it should. If it's out empty, it should be pointing all the way down like this, but I can get it to go up like that and it'll stay up there. Unfortunately, the ID tag has taken a toll over time, and this particular one here has very, if any, the model number here. So if you can, maybe if you want to put a comment in my box and tell me exactly what model this one is, I don't know. And I can't find anything that's going to tell me on this one with this tag being lost. So coming around here in the back, like I said, this machine would have ran a power generator, any type of machinery like a mine equipment. This one here doesn't have a clutch, so it's kind of interesting to see what this would have ran. Whatever it is, it's certainly long gone from now. This back here is the gas tank. And see if we can get that to open up here. Grab a screwdriver. This thing hadn't been opened up in years. No, just what I thought. Rust in there. And for whatever reason, there's a spider web in there. That makes you wonder how he got in there with the lid on. Maybe he was strong enough to open up the lid and reseal it when he got back in there. Yeah, he could have crawled up the gas line or something like that and got in there. So, over here, I have a muffler. This is exhaust. And a little wasp nest here going on. See here? Yeah, they're gone. They didn't pay their rent, so they've left. Coming on down here, like I said, this is a non-battery powered, so it's got a magneto on it. This one here is a Fairbanks Morse. They made several different magnetos for different engines. It's a type FM on here. It's a pretty common mag that they made. And above that would be the Zenith carburetor, little cast iron carburetor here. These things here are pretty common on small engines and farm tractors back in the day. We've got here what I call a little farm all fix. Somebody welded that back up, and they also welded it here on top. So apparently somebody wasn't too careful at one time. This thing took a big old whammo. So Here's the grease caps right here. This would be greasing this up here, and it looks like there's a grease fitting way up here at the top too. Shoot that full of some grease, so then that bearing doesn't lock up. And like I said, that the flat belt would run from here down to here, and turn that when this turns this fan. And that would be what cools this engine. This is the throttle, which it's missing the linkage, and back here has a governor, which would run from here to here. And the governor would pick up whenever the engine came under a load or a heavier load, that would pick this up and tell the carburetor to go ahead and pick up and send more fuel into the engine. So also down here is the drain plug. This is where you drain your oil out, and another oil indicator. Runs off the same side. So there's one continuous shaft going through one side and the other. Although on this side, it does tell you full and empty. I think it's what it says on the other side too. So I think that pretty much covers it. On the front, down low, is a crank start. So it's got this crank here. We're going to modify it a little bit. This is not the correct crank to fit this. Put this crank in here, and this engine cranks over counterclockwise. So when you crank it, there'll be a pin going through here, which would go through these holes right here into this. Crank this engine over counterclockwise, like so. So there's a little honeycomb radiator here, another whammo on the front of it. So we'll have to see if I can get that repaired. This here is the choke lever that would choke your carburetor before starting. And like I mentioned before, this is the throttle setting. So coming on up here, let's take a look inside the radiator cap, see what's inside. No, not too bad. Looks like I get a little bit of rust in there. A little bit of maybe a repair going on in there too. Let's see about that. So, all right. So I want to talk just briefly on a few things over here. We're going to start tearing this thing down. This is going to be the first of the series of tearing this engine down. And I just want to go over with penetrating oil. We have a WD-40 here in a spray can. Not my favorite one, but that'll get the job done if you need to do some light rust removal. This is CRC. This is a power lube here. It's a little bit better stuff. I like it. You know, it's kind of like the WD-40 version. It's a little bit more oily. And the other one is, I grabbed off the shelf, the world famous krill oil right here. This stuff's pretty expensive, only about $16 a can, but it is amazing stuff. You spray it on there, and it kind of has a scent like almost a sweet smell. You spray it on a bolt, let it sit, get some up underneath there. We're going to start by just taking those off the carburetor. That's going to be, I'm going to do it off camera. I'm not going to take that off maybe right now. But I'm going to go ahead and spray some of these, the hood down. We'll get the hood off. I got to get this exhaust off here. And that's probably going to be some things that I'm just going to do off camera, because that's just pretty basic stuff that anybody can do. I mean, anybody can take a hood off like this thing, take this pipe off like that. That can be done easily. But that's just really what we want to do. So I'm going to wrap up this one right now with the first of the series with a little 2-cylinder Leroi engine.